So after being cooped up in the house all day yesterday, I decided to drive down here to Bodo's Bagels. It's a local place that it's been around for, a couple decades now. But so we still got snow, but the roads are clear. And so I thought I'd do a little video from the car because it's really not the kind of day I want to be sitting outside. There's not a lot of beautiful nature to look at right now. So, let's see. So I'm the only person in my family that ever wanted to go to Europe. And I always wanted to see Paris. Ever since I was a little kid, I wanted to see Paris. I don't know why. You know, my family would say, why do you want to go to Europe when there's so much to see here in this country? So, I got to the point in my life where, I was making good money, bought a house, and I was changing my life around, and I decided that I was going to walk away from it all. And sort of as a transitional part of it, I decided to go to Paris. And it was kind of influenced by my crazy gay guy hairdresser, Sean, that he was actually the one who influenced me to become a hairdresser, because I used to go and, sit in his chair and just do this, I want to go to Paris, it's like I've always wanted to go to Paris or whatever. So finally one day, he leaned over, he got in my face, and he said, will you just go to Paris? And so I was going to a travel agent shortly after that. And, that was way back before the internet, where, you had to have somebody that kind of knew the ropes and everything, especially since I was traveling by myself. I didn't have any friends that had enough money to go with me, so it took a couple of months to get all the travel arrangements. And I thought, don't just go to Paris. It was taking a whole month to go to Europe. And start in an English-speaking country. So I decided to go to London and spend a week in London. And this travel agent got me set up in a really nice bed and breakfast. So like near Victoria Station, which was kind of centrally located. So, and one of my friends that had traveled a lot said, don't try to do too much in any one day. So what I would try to do is just maybe go to a museum for one day, go to a park for one day, tour the city for one day, stuff like that. And so then I also decided to go to Milan because, from a fashion point of view, Milan is actually the fashion capital of the world, much more than Paris. And, the Italians are just, they're very stylish. They know all about fine fabrics and stuff like that. And so, there's sort of a side story to it where I was going to, try to purchase some fabric in Italy and ship it back to the States and make a line of jackets that I was going to sell in boutiques. But anyway, that's, like another, maybe I'll become a fashion designer. So, anyway, then when I left London, I flew to Milan, and I was staying in this tourist hotel. The people in Milan do not speak English. It's like the banking center of Italy. And they do have a big opera house, La Scala. And they also have the the church that the painting The Last Supper is in. And that was kind of interesting because that was only the only wall that was left after all the bombing. So the whole church was destroyed except that one wall. So of course I went to see that. But I got pretty frustrated in Milan because I got lost every single time I left the hotel. Because I was staying like in the medieval part of the city, and it was like a maze. It was like a circle within a circle within a circle with the spokes of a wheel, and every single block had a different name, and you'd stand on a street corner and try and figure out where you were, and so I'd immediately get lost every time I left the hotel. And then I couldn't find any place to eat because I didn't know how to order food there, and the money was really like it would cost me like 10,000 lira for lunch. So I found this this little cafeteria that I just kind of stumbled upon one day, that I could actually like pick out the food myself. And then when I would get to the checkout, I would just pull like a really huge bill out of my wallet and hope that they gave me the right change and everything. So I ended up, well, I had a couple of like amazing adventures there, but I'm not going to talk about that now. A side trip to Lake Como, stuff like that. So then I decided that I had to get the heck out of Milan. So I left a few days early for Paris. And all I knew what to do was to go to the train station, buy a ticket for Paris, and then once I got to Paris, just go to the hotel that I had a reservation in, because I had the address and the name and everything of that, and then I would just take it from there. So I go to the train station, and I'm having trouble trying to figure out how to buy a ticket to Paris. And so I'm standing at this like ticket counter. There's a big glass, between where you purchase your ticket and the people that are, working there, because there was a lot of terrorism going on even way back then, and like there were armed guards, with machine guns on the corners and stuff. That was near any kind of banking or like fancy jewelry stores, and stuff like that. So it's kind of weird to be walking around, and all of a sudden there'd be like some soldier guy standing there with a machine gun, and so anyway, I actually got laughed at for being an American, which I guess they could figure out right away that I was American, even though once I got to Paris, I told everybody I was Canadian, and I think it was probably because of what happened in the train station in Milan. But so this this woman I was trying to buy a ticket from, she was just like pointing at me and saying, "Ha ha ha, funny American," and stuff like that. And so eventually I got the ticket, but then I couldn't find the train track that I had to go to. So I was so distressed at that point, I basically sat down on my piece of luggage and I started crying. I mean, I was like, what am I gonna do? It's like I'm in this strange place and I can't find my way, and all this kind of stuff. So there was this older gentleman that came up to me, and it turned out that he was, I'm pretty sure he was French, but anyway, he spoke Italian, French, and English. And I told him I was trying to find the train track to get on the train to go to Paris. And so he directed me, he read all the signs, and he told me where to go. And so that was like, so grateful. So so the train ride was very interesting, because it was the only time I really got to see the countryside. And it went up through northern Italy and then across France, and at one point, I remember we were going through just, this was, it was like the transition between April and May. And because I was there the last 2 weeks of April and the first 2 weeks of May. And so there were these fields, just, you know, field after field, bright yellow, just, you know, beautiful. And so then we pulled into the station Dijon, and I'm like, oh wow, they're mustard fields. That was pretty funny. So then, so I get to Paris and get to the hotel, and the guy at the desk was American. It's like, thank God, you know, he was almost like an expatriate or something. And so he said, well, we don't have your room ready, but hold on, you know, wait a minute, I'm going to see what I can do. So he ended up finding like an alternative room that he was very